Back to Gundam's Grace, presented by the Gundam Evolution New Type League. It is time for our top three to go down to our top two. Once again, I am Evan Chef Hashimoto, joined by James Jamerson Lee, and it's time to send one of these teams home, despite the fact that they fought so hard to get here.
Yeah, and this is going to be tough. I mean, Bork versus Powerpuff Girls is going to be our first outing with these two squads together in the best of three in the lower bracket. And Powerpuff Girls, again, it seems like tournament after tournament, they're getting better and better. Like you mentioned, they bowed out in fourth place last round or last time, but this time here we go in the top three, and they always get better. And so I'm really excited to see what this matchup has in store for us.
Yeah, I love the solid consistency of that team, and of course they brought some new things as far as potentially new suits this time around. So I am excited to see how that goes. Of course, it all depends on the map picks and bans, which have been pretty wild so far, right? The fact that we did see, of course, in the very last set, the Ministry of Defense is the starting map. Not an expected thing, but we may get some surprises coming into the end of this. You know, once these teams maybe they have a little trick up their sleeve, like they're like, oh yeah, I've practiced Quarry really heavily, so we're just gonna go to that first off, or something like that. But we have seen, yeah, like you said, both of these teams lose actually now to Team Sucky Vacuums. This is gonna be two teams that are fighting for their run back in the grand finals, and both of them now getting 2-0'd. Of course, both teams stood a very good chance, and I think they both stand a very good chance of being able to rematch them and win that rematch in the grand finals. But they definitely want it. You know, you always, every single time you get knocked to loser bracket, you want to fight whoever knocked you there.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and check out the map bans and picks for this match. Remember, it is a best of three, so we go through a ban from either side and then a pick from either side. Like we mentioned last round, we were completely thrown off guard, seeing, Ministry of Defense being one of the first pickups, one of the first picks. It's very rarely is it a first map pick. But going into this one, it does seem like it's actually going to remain to be kind of standard, where it is the first map ban.
Yeah, it looks like we're still working on the picks and bans currently, but yeah, it's not only is it usually not the first map pick, it's usually not picked at all, or usually not even not banned. But yeah, hearing that this is the first ban, super not surprising to me. That makes a whole lot of sense, especially after seeing what happened on the previous set. You know, you see that kind of shutout even against an amazing team like Bork, and you're like, you know what, maybe we don't take this chance again. You know, maybe we don't take the chance that something weird like this comes up. I would expect, especially between these two and the fact that they're both kind of like fighting back for that final spot, I would expect a little bit more safer picks. We have seen a few of these teams go to Harbor actually pretty early on, which is an interesting choice. But we've seen this also today a lot, or today and yesterday, a lot of really strong turn A users. We've seen some really good GM sniper users. So perhaps some of these teams are a little bit more comfortable playing on that longer range. Especially, we've definitely seen it from, in particular, the Powerpuff Girls, and they've done very well on that map now a few times.
Yeah, and on the other side for Team Bork, I mean, that does mean that they are basically running Sazabi list. I don't think they've picked it up once whatsoever. They have their options to try and counter it, right? Starting off with the RX-78-2, really utilizing that hyper hammer we saw there when we were on Mountain R&D, getting that initial pick onto Legacy. I mean, I think he might have been caught off guard because it does have a little bit of an arc to it, right? And so when you're fighting over the high ground over on A and C, you can kind of toss that one on over, lob it over out of LOS, and then hit him with it. And we saw Legacy get absolutely melted off the back of that. And so we'll see if they maintain the Sazabi list compositions. That turn A was an option for them. Marasai was an option for them as well. But here are our bans. So Ministry of Defense and Mountain R&D have been taken out, leaving Quarry open, and that is the first map that we're going to.
Yeah, you know, I was making that joke about somebody first picking Quarry as it's their like secret weapon, but you know, apparently maybe it happened. And it is pretty interesting that we are seeing both the maps that we saw in the last set banned immediately, so we are guaranteed a 100% different set as far as maps. But going to Quarry immediately does mean I think that they're going for a little bit more of like a safer approach. They're not going to either go to the more chaotic domination maps right off the bat, and in fact they're not going to be going to it at all. Another map that we've only seen I think one time so far in this particular broadcast over this weekend is Underground Command Center, and that's going to be their second choice. So we are going to go now to a double demolition set.
Yeah, and that's kind of surprising. Now, that does mean, of course, Ministry of Defense is out, so no more domination, or excuse me, destruction after this one. So that's going to leave Flak Fort, Thermal Plant, and Harbor City available as that third map if we end up going to it. Here in the lower bracket, already getting sent to map number 3 once. And so we do have to keep an eye on that. But right now, I think Quarry, again, we got to see some great stuff yesterday out of Team IQ, and I think that actually bodes well when it comes to Bork, because they are running that turn A Gundam. So when their offense comes down, that point A or point B, and honestly, either Mega Charge plant site will be good for them, but I see them kind of favoring that A side.
Yeah, well, we've also seen PPG run turn A when they want to. They've been switching, sometimes on it, sometimes off of it. So this could be another one of those times where they see what happened, especially on the offensive side. They can say like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a good suit for this map. So I mean, hey, we said at the start of the broadcast, this is really the story of this weekend, is that we're seeing so many turn A's, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did see that again. But the flexibility of both these teams, I think, is going to be good. Probably going to see, like you said, the Sazabi list, which has changed some of the matchups, but this is a weird one, right? Quarry, you talked about this yesterday. You have the ability to plant on A and control it with these really long angles, or the ability to plant on B and control it with really short angles, and they are not super right next to each other. You do have to kind of go up through some like verticality to get from one to the other. So this is one of the most flexible maps for sure, just based on your play style, and we are going to immediately be able to see some of the defensive suit picks here. We are going to see the turn A.
And we talked about the difference of how this one plays out as opposed to what we saw in Ministry of Defense, is that there is going to be a lot more presence. Of course, fighting over that first waypoint is not something that you always have to do when it comes to Ministry of Defense, either as the defense or the offense. But this is definitely where you want to first hold. You don't want to just give this one up for free, because the long back is so long regardless. Now, as it is going to be Powerpuff Girls starting off on the defensive side. And they do have that turn A ready. So no Sazabi, looks like, in this matchup so far.
Yeah, and they're going to actually bring the Unicorn Gundam, which is a strategy that we saw Bozos use to win the last tournament on this map a lot. But wow, what a quick rush already. I feel like that door just opened, and immediately they're already here at these choke points. I don't know if this res is going to be able to safely get off. It does not look like it's going to. At least wasn't punished fully, but we are going to see immediately 2 people from Bork go down. Still a pretty offensive push, all things considered.
Yeah, they're just trying to find any kind of bleed if they can. They know it's going to be a full wipe, so going down like that, it's fine. They're not staggering in this fight. It only took about 30 or 40 seconds there ultimately in the end. So I like trying to go for that cheeky peek. Right now, you can see the defense have basically reestablished themselves. No one is fighting for that high ground. You don't want to leave yourself vulnerable to just an errant Exia dash coming on in, getting that stun, and then getting one shot and then being unrecoverable by your team. So I like how they're playing this one out right now. 260 HP, but he's able to back away as that armor coming in from the heels of that Unicorn, but 2 pickoffs coming in from Team Bork.
Yeah, this was a much better push for them altogether. Right now, we're going to see the 1v1 of the Exia taking on this Pale Rider, and this is a really awkward spot to 1v1. Okay, not going to be that anymore. We do see the Pale Rider just kind of back up. Really nice float over to that middle platform to try and avoid being outnumbered here, but it does look like this is a pretty significant push onto A. We could see a little switch over to B, but with so many long-range suits here, I mean, now the Exia is going down. Actually, this is just weird. They're just fighting in the middle rather than planting.
Yeah, unfortunate. Alternate ends up actually taking himself out. It looked like maybe he was dash firing, getting behind cover at the same time, and ends up hitting a wall and taking himself out with Splash. So they already started off this fight with a man down, and now there might be an opening here, possibly to try and charge forward and fight over the choke points right outside of the waypoints. But they're going to go ahead and give them some space and back away and regroup now over here at point B, which they end up getting that first knock. Exponent ends up going down, and they're going to try and charge forward for a little bit more. He doesn't have, never mind, the mid-air connect on the Bitey. Very nice play coming out here from Casino.
Yeah, this is full team kill. That was incredible. But once again, oh wow, they just immediately spawned, of course, on this waypoint, but this will be recaptured. And technically a second team kill if you just count one single person. But we do know that that's the background of Casino, right? A lot of these arena shooters where you do have to catch a lot of people flying around, essentially, which is that high level of mobility, by hitting some projectile rocket shots. So that's definitely coming into play here, sniping flyers out of the air, and that's why we love watching that Casino Dom so much, but what a great retake on the waypoint. That doesn't usually happen on this map, and they're really taking advantage of it.
Ooh, Ashmar Punch being utilized here just to create an opening and try and retake the waypoint, by the way. This is not where you want to be spending your G maneuvers. You want to try and get the Mega Charge down first, but instead they are expending so much utility into these into just capturing the waypoint. They haven't even done that yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is really tough. There's only about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Well, 1 minute and 45 seconds. Apparently, I can't count. But this is not an easy site to push. I mentioned this before, but it takes a while to get to the points, even once you've taken the waypoint. And that can mean that even if it looks like you have a little bit more time than usual, like 145, 130 is not, I mean, that's a ton of time on some maps, but on this map, not a lot. However, we're going to see maybe the sneak from the Axia. No, what a great shot from that Ashmar.
He tried to commit. He was so close to it. Focus was able to turn around just in time to deny that one. Alternate playing around this LOS. Bitey is low. Does he have his armor gun to get him back on up? Oh, we'll see. The Trans Am is available this time around on the push. We'll see if he can find any value off of it. Finds one isolated by himself. It's going to be the Ashmar player, but Ashmars are still extremely good when it comes to the 1v1 duels. You can see all the way in the back line is that turn A charging up his shots. Now they have built a little space for themselves, but again, when he tries to go for that plant, Exponent gets shut down. They do get it on that A site though, but it's 55 seconds now. They are losing bodies. Bitey has gone down, and this is such a long run back.
It is, even on offense. Now, we'll see if they are controlling any of these long angles. I don't know exactly who they have in which positions, but it looks like there hasn't been a disarm yet. So I'm assuming, yeah, there's some players probably sitting over closer to their spawn, a little bit further range. Was that a Zakutu ranged that I just saw?
Yeah, there was a Zakutu range swap off about 1.5 minutes ago. So it's been in usage, but this is all that matters. Kaiser now with that butterfly to shut things down. 20 seconds left to go ahead and try to get that disarm, but that's a nice pickoff at the end there. And so they do end up securing that, it looks like, with the disarm. And now they're scrambling to try to get back onto the point for the plant, but they will not be able to make it. Beautiful hold coming out from the Powerpuff girls. And we have to remember that I believe this map pick was actually Team Bork's.
Wow, yeah, this is a really solid play then on kind of the opposite side of whoever picked the map here. Powerpuff Girls, of course, just playing so well on that defense. That's not really usually how you see a win on defense there. Usually we tend to see like, okay, either you hold really, really well at that first point, and then eventually you kind of give up the, you either give it up and then you go to the second point and sometimes they can't make it there, or a really dominant hold at the waypoint. But this time there was like a few retakes, there's a little bit of give and take here, but it was a lot of bending and not breaking from the side of Powerpuff Girls, and in the end that caused them to essentially flawless this. There's very little time on this map on the bomb that had been planted. It's about 75%, I think, and so all they need to do is just almost take the first point, get one really solid first good push, and we'll see if they can. We're going to see I believe the slight change to the lineup back for Bork on the defense. Of course, we're not going to see that Zakutu range anymore, which of course I'd love to see, but we'll see if there's any changes on offense. Looking pretty similar to me again, yeah, even with the Unicorn Gundam.
To be fair, though, for the Powerpuff Girls, I mean, their hold on that waypoint was actually so good that they forced out a G maneuver push. I mean, typically you want to try and take that waypoint by going into fights dry. You don't want to utilize those G maneuvers there. You really want to extend their value off the plant and get that post-plant defense instead with those. But they just never really were able to. And off the few Mega Plant charges that they were Mega charges that they were able to get down, I mean, again, they didn't have the same kind of utility, but now here it is, Bork Gundam on their defensive hold. It's not exactly the same. They do have that RX-78-2, but again, the RX-78-2 worked out for them because, again, they were doing a great job of applying pressure onto Sazabi, but it's a Sazabi-less composition from either side. Exia goes in, is able to find the first knock. There it is, alternate onto focus.
Yeah, oh, very nice. Just barely escaping with his life. And of course, the armor gun, like I said, the ultimate duo in this game. The 2v2 is just armor gun plus Exia. There are some people up kind of on the stairs here. Nobody's really getting hit. It looks like it's going to be that Dom. Probably Nox on the Dom. Or sorry, not Nox. This is the other team. I just said the completely wrong team's name. But we are going to see a pretty solid push through these stairs. And we're going to see a classic strategy of retreating back over into the houses, I guess you could say. The buildings. I don't know what to call them. but the waypoint overall will be taken.
Yeah, and this was, again, just off a dry fight. They didn't have to utilize any kind of G maneuvers. They haven't built one up yet anyhow. The Unicorn is the closest at 57, and they're going straight for that B plant. So I'm getting down there, but they are getting challenged just a little bit. The Mega Charge will go down, and the Thirst is there to finish one off, but it looks like they did end up coming in to try and deny that Mega Charge, and Exponent finds one more. They're charging forward now with that Pale Rider. The Unicorn now still a little bit further off from his G maneuver. The Ashmar Punch comes in with the follow-up, and he does end up getting the Thirst, and there it is. Exponent comes in with that charge to finish him off. Now, do they have enough pressure, though, to try and take this waypoint? You can see they cannot overextend for it.
Yeah, it looks like a few people backed up on the side of PPG to make sure that that wasn't going to be a retake, which seems like a pretty smart choice. That definitely was not a push that worked out overall. That beep. Oh, the Trans Am very aggressive here, trying to take this waypoint back, and it is going to effectively work. Maybe this could be a flank. I'm not sure how many people are sitting here on B, but what a shot! Mid dash punch. Jeez.
Yeah, just headies and headies coming in from both the Pale Rider along with that turn A. Is going to allow them now not just to capture the waypoint, but also maybe get the Mega Charge down. But no, the defense is so good so far. But they end up losing out on 2, unfortunately, and the res comes on in. The Mega Charge has gone down onto point B, and now there's only 38 seconds remaining. They've got the Screaming Nimbus, and this is where you get the value off the G maneuvers. You just delay and delay. You stop them from getting onto the point. The Ashmar Punch as well. That's all the CC you can ask for to finish things off. The Super Napalm, but they cannot clear it. It's okay. They lose out Kaiser on that one, but he doesn't even have the Butterfly yet. The two units that you're really looking for is to stay alive is going to be, of course, Casino here on the dump. He does back away, pick up that heal, denies the charge again, the defuse once more, but he does end up going down, and they will get the defuse just in time.
Wow, just barely in time. Very, very well played. And now that was a lot of resources, fully understandable. I felt like that Screaming Nimbus was going to be enough, especially with the health pack being there, but it was just not quite enough. And this has been a really defensive game so far. A lot of pushes just not worked out. And oh no, it looks like folks getting caught maybe a little bit out of position. They were not out of position. It's kind of got jump scared by the Exia is really what you want to say. And this Exia has really just been a menace in this particular B side. I almost want to see if an A push could work, but we were going to get the replant on B, and there's not going to be a whole lot of time left. So I have to say this is probably the last big opportunity, unless they manage to sneak another plant on another point right as this one gets disarmed. But so far, this is looking great from Casino as usual. It's going to be 2 or 3 down on the side of Bork Gundam.
Yeah, Kaiser has fallen as well, along with Focus. They'll be able to get the res, but no, actually getting finished off. Batty has fallen. They need to keep him up. They need to get the turn A actually back into this one. He's got the Butterfly just to make sure, and that the length of the Butterfly is so long that you should be able to finish things off, but nobody will be able to get onto the point. There's only Exponent remaining here, and now it's just about getting the bombs down, and that is the Mega Charge finishing things off. So Powerpuff Girls will walk away with map number 1.
That was honestly, though, a really close match. And I feel like I've said this already today because it's true, but that was a really close match and not in the usual close way that we expect to see on that level. Usually, once we see plants, it's particularly in B right there, honestly on A as well, once you get plants on either side based on what your team you have, what your team comp is, we usually see it defended until it explodes. But we saw a lot of plants that were not quite there, not fully exploded, but not even quite to 75%, and even fighting through a bunch of different G maneuvers. There were a lot of disarms, and this was a very, very defensive sided map for just as far as play, not the actual map. We just very rarely see it get held by both sides so closely on that first point. So you can definitely tell that both of these teams have a really smart sense of resource management on defense, and it did get really close, but we might have the team that was in the losers bracket way earlier, got knocked in the losers bracket, I would say about 4 matches ago. They're already in the lead here to potentially make it back up to grand finals.
And like you said, there was some great discipline when it came around to G maneuver usage on the defensive side, but it was the offensive side that was the huge difference maker there. You saw that initial plant coming out from Powerpuff Girls that they were able to hold on to about 4 G maneuvers for that post plant defense. It was very unfortunate, that their Ashmar player ended up going down, because that is the layer of denial when it comes to the Mega Charge Diffusal. If he hadn't gone down, if they kind of layered the two, right, the Screaming Nimbus along with that Ashmar punch, that should have been over right then and there. But kudos, of course, to PPG for being able to take those fights at that waypoint without having to utilize their G maneuvers. And that really did kind of create the difference between the two teams on this map.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is that as soon as PPG got that waypoint, it was theirs for basically forever. There was like one retake, but PPG on defense, they did manage to retake that waypoint a few times. They like stayed solid in their defense. They re-pushed back up together as a team. They made sure that nobody was flanking around the other direction, and I think that earned them just a little bit more time, which was all it took. That was, again, a really, really close match. So I wouldn't be surprised again if we did end up at a game 3. But like we mentioned earlier, the next map in this set is going to be another destruction level. So we're going to see the Underground Command Center, and that is a map that we've only seen once or twice throughout the entirety of this weekend. So I'm pretty excited to see that.
Yeah, and it looks like we do have our vote for the Bloodline MVP. So just go ahead and check out GENL_GG on Twitter, where you can go ahead and vote on that right now. It looks like Bitey, Focus, and Carl Sagan, some of our favorite MVPs right now. So go ahead and put in your vote for who you think the MVP should be. I believe the poll will be running for the next 2 hours, so make sure you go ahead and do that. Because again, there have been so many standout players, but we want you guys at home to decide who that is.
All right, well, this is a little bit unfair. Okay, it's a little bit unfair. I see the chat. I see all the Carl Sagan fans in chat. I know y'all are showing up really strong. We appreciate it, of course. I'm sure Carl Sagan appreciates it, but I get a feeling that poll might be a little bit one-sided with the level of not only support but copy pasting in the chat right now. But shout out to all of you. Carl Sagan, of course, is a legend. It's absolutely true. I was getting a little bit on the copy pasting myself, but we're not seeing, of course, Carl Sagan's team right now for good reason, as they're sitting in the grand finals. So we'll get back to a little bit more Carl Sagan after that. And honestly, MVP of this this like entire broadcast for me is hard to say, because I think it was a little bit easier last time around for me. For Halloween Havoc, we saw some more like really strong individual plays, but I'm just loving the play from all the like combined teams so far this time around.
Yeah, and again, it goes to show like why it feels so rewarding to play multiple roles or different roles in this game, right? It's not just like the DPS is the star of the show, the support as well proves to be so valuable. We got to see that out of Casino in this last round. There on Quarry, his Dom play was absolutely stellar. The mid-air snipes onto an Ashmar flying away, and it wasn't like the laser beam, right? It was actually the projectile that you were talking about. So it goes to show having that arena FPS chops really does end up proving invaluable, and which is why I think I did pick up Dom so quickly initially on the beta of this game.
Yeah, it's great to see it. I say it every single broadcast, but I'm so happy that we have so many different like teams and players from different games and subgenres of FPSs and even other just genres in general. It's really cool to see like what different skills everybody has, and it translates really well into this game. Is, you know, there is, for example, suits that you can use well, like if you were really good at projectile shots, for example, like the Dom, or there's if you're just like a person who clicks heads and plays more games more like that. Obviously, you've got the Pale Rider, or you can play the turn A, or you know, it's great to see like the different skills and how they combine with other players from other different genres, and it's just tight to see. But we're seeing a lot, of course, from the final teams that we've got here in the top 3. We've got a whole lot of different subgenres, I guess you could say, represented, and of course, Casinos I think is one of the most clear, right? It's a clearer one for one, I think, than a lot of the others.
Yeah, the Dom again. Every time I get like Quake player or anything playing with me in Gundam, I'm like, hey, just try Dom. You're gonna like Dom. You're gonna love Dom. And they always agree. But now as we get into Underground Command Center, it is going to be, I believe, it's Powerpuff Girls starting off on the defense first. Bork decides to attack first, and PPG are going to put a little bit more focus on individual healing this time around because of the nature of how this outside portion, when you're fighting over the waypoint, and you're going to need that individual healing because of how spread out these fights can be.
I see that every single time. I mean, obviously, it's not a rare thing at all to preset your mines on a health pack that's a little bit further forward, but it still makes me laugh every single time. It's like I don't know, like old school Shaco boxes in a jungle bush or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, we're just getting trolled. But looks like on the offense, we are going to be seeing the Gem Sniper, which is pretty cool to see. We haven't seen that a lot on this map for some reason. I do like it at the start. We've seen Bork go to that a decent amount, being able to just try the sniper and then switch off when they need to.
Yeah, and it's almost double sniper here with the turn A as well, but instantly they were able to focus them off of that high ground. But it's just going to be a back away position for Powerpuff Girls. They want to fight over the waypoint. They don't want to fight over the high ground, but that does leave that Gem Sniper open now to have that additional sight line. But they are doing a great job on the defensive side of just backing away, but ultimately the Ashmar will be able to find that angle, get that knock. Exponent has gone down. They actually might be able to get the res. No, it gets denied at the end. Focus and Baddie down. Now Powerpuff Girls have to fight over the Mega Charge plant. But you can see instantly they are not going to allow them to set up early on, and the pressure is unrelenting as they do finally get the plant down.
Yeah, two people actually going for the plant right there just to make sure 100%. But this is a little bit of a run back for the defensive team. So I love the fact that they took that team wipe and then pushed immediately and got that first plant. This is a very tough one to defend if they've got the right angles. And it does seem like there's kind of a lot of the members of PPG all together. They're going to take out Exponent again, being focused down so well.
And they've lost out that high ground. Now they have to play off the choke. Turn A going in. Baddie ends up going down. And that overhead throw gets absolutely nothing here as the Dom goes in for those reses. So they'll have the clear man advantage until Zyros actually goes down on the PPG side. And now they have to fight over this choke once again. You can see though, Casino trying to put in work. You can try and spam these corners, but that does mean the Dom on the other side has that same kind of advantage. Exponent is here in the back, but he does go down once again. A 1-for-1 exchange, but he's got backup this time around. The Ashmar is here as he does end up getting res. No, they are not going to be able to complete that one. 6 seconds remaining. No one is here for the defuse, and it looks like we're going to the second half of this map.
Yeah, we even saw the punch used, even though it didn't really actually hit anybody, but it didn't need to hit anybody, and that's what's important. And now we'll see. This can be one of the toughest choke points if we can see PPG get into position in time. Oh, getting clipped. We've been using the same skin, and that means they're probably not going to be able to hold this kind of ramp choke point, which we have seen be relatively popular. They're going to have to hold the little bit further back choke point that goes towards the waypoint if they even want to, if they even have enough people here. It does look like they are going to try to at least defend this waypoint. It is an important one. It is a huge distance saver, but we're going to see the dive in from the Exia. We're going to see 2 players go down once again for PPG. And it looks like they might be taking this. Yep, 3 huge dive.
Yeah, they can bleed, they can go ahead and trade because they have the waypoint overall, right? And so when the respawns come on in, 1 HP left, there we go. They finish off Casino, but now he's left down to 200 HP in a 1v2, but he does have the respawns coming in. So this is a huge cleanup. And now Bork Gundam, they do get slowed down just a bit. They were trying to carry the momentum forward. So it was a good defensive hold so far for Powerpuff Girls to at least stabilize for themselves, and then try and have a chance at stopping the plants. But he's going to be able to get into the back line. He finds the charge down onto A, but while all of that happens, Zyros ends up finding 3 for himself. And so that should be basically an instant defuse coming out from the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, we're seeing basically the same like aggressive push that we saw on point A. There just unfortunately wasn't enough quite to follow that up, to follow that, you know, dash into the plant, which is understandable. It's a little bit further away here, and the fights just didn't quite go the same way for Team Bork. But they're back here at this somewhat little bit of a choke point because they lost, of course, that waypoint. That is a huge retake, honestly, on the side of Powerpuff Girls.
Marsai was actually picked up. I don't know if we ever talked about that swap off coming in. Alternate ends up going down, and Zyros finds another one. Hades is going to get popped just to clean things up and now secure this waypoint for themselves and send them back. So with 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, Team Bork actually have to find their way to get that waypoint once more.
Yeah, this is actually one of the tougher choke points right here in this tunnel. There is just not a lot of freedom at all, especially when you have a strong Dom player who can just AoE that spot over and over. But look, you can see this, just more and more players falling. Actually Casino going down. The Exponent, it looks like diving the back a little bit, but they are going to be trading an Exia for an Exia. This is not really going 100% one direction or not yet.
They still have their heals. Now we do have that hook on in, but the one shot wasn't quite there. They do follow up finally to take him out, but you've got the repair cable. Once again, he does not get that res though. Focus falling down now. Things are starting to fall apart for the defense. But again, Bork still need to establish themselves onto this waypoint, so there will be an opportunity for the Powerpuff Girls to try and stabilize once again for this hold. They've done a great job of bleeding out the time at the very least, now leaving them with 3.5 minutes to work with.
Yeah, this, I mean, that was a pretty long amount of time to retake that, but the Trans Am coming out, they want to end this now. They want to take advantage of this fully, and look at this. There is a great pick. There have actually been quite a few picks. I think they have to pick up a few people on the side of Bork, but this Trans Am just going wild. This is such a tough spot to fight a Trans Am Exia, or even just a normal Exia in. Not going to quite be able to finish off Kaiser, and it looks like there might be a pickup on, no, Casino's going down as well. They didn't even get a chance to pick him up, but doesn't seem like there's going to be a plant, unless there's maybe a sneaky plants on A.
It seemed like it was an answer, right? Trans Am for Trans Am, but when we talk about G maneuver discipline, it has been the Powerpuff Girls who've been doing a standout job when it comes down to it. They have 4 remaining, so it was just the energy cable Trans Am into that last fight, and that's all they needed. Screaming Nimbus is going to start things off for Bork as they try to find an opening, but no, the confusion is not quite there as Yuka ends up going down to his own flame. Now the push out onto the ace sites, but the high ground is being maintained, and the Methus will be able to get the res on to his Ashmar player Focus there. Will they be able to charge forward to try and get this waypoint? You can see Casino tries to go for it, almost gets his life for it, and he will end up going down, but a nice Methus alternate fire to finish off Exponent will slow things down just a bit. The defense reestablishing themselves, bleeding time down now to 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining for Bork here in the second half.
Yeah, I think maybe like a few more really strong picks could have even been a retake right there on the waypoint, but it looks like they're gonna be pushing up through the waypoint side, up the ramp. They are kind of splitting their push a little bit right here, and that can be really tough. The spot that we're seeing Casino hold right now is great for actually defending both of those angles. I'm not gonna get that res off, but once again, Exponent going down. We've seen it now from both sides. These teams at the top here are so good at focusing on a single stray Exia, and we're gonna have the duel. We're gonna have the Arena FPS duel, but it's gonna be definitely going the side of Casino, getting that flank, and let's see if they can clear out enough here.
Kaiser only gets one with that butterfly as well, and it gets rezzed up, but they are starting to bleed out members on the other side. Moist and Kaki going down. Here is the bomb defuse. He does have to get off of it. He was down to 500 HP. Exia getting to the back line right now as Bitey ends up going down, and this might be the push that Bork Gundam were looking for. There's still 30 seconds remaining here on the Mega Charge as they're trying to get bodies onto it, and they will get the defuse. So, despite throwing so much at that fight, Bork now are back left at square one.
Yeah, Casino was actually at like it had to be like 10 life right there. That was like a completely empty wheel just seeing that UI. That was really, really close to not happening, but they cleared out just perfectly in time, and whoa, amazing shots here. Kaiser looks like maybe got a little bit of like a double shot there with some collateral, and that's a really low focus. Not going to be able to get res, winning pretty aggressively right there, and actually there's a few picks now on the side of Bork, so Bork is going to have one really good opportunity to push here. That's going to be Xyros going down to Exponent, and just, I mean, they can plant anywhere here. They can plant. They've got a great opportunity. It might go down on A.
Yeah, it looks like they will go ahead and get that one down this time around. And they do have the man advantage. We have a full regroup, though, coming out from Powerpuff Girls, and they've got the Ashmar Punch along with the Hades. The Ashmar Punch creates space, and then Hades just gets free shots after that. They get the knock onto Moist JP without having utilized anything. Now, with a 6v5, they're going to go ahead and charge forward. Casino leading the charge without a Screaming Nimbus quite yet, but he is super close to it. Catches the flank, and now he will be able to get that Mega Charge defuse. Nope! He's getting flanked from behind. He's got the backup of his teammates. Extra time ticking down, and it's going to be Kaiser on the defuse of the Mega Charge, and that is going to be Powerpuff Girls holding them on the second half, but there was still good progress made by Bork on that plant.
Yeah, and I want to point out how actually strong that last moment was from Casino. You know, almost done, like 80% done with that that like disarm, but just realizing like, okay, I got hit one single time. I have a teammate next to me. There's no time left. There was no hesitation. Just turn on Screaming Nimbus, and there was actually nobody left to hit because the teammate actually took out the person that shot him. But regardless, it was such an immediate reaction, like, okay, I'm just not going to take any risks. If I go down right here trying to get greedy, then we could lose an entire game due to that one tiny mistake. So I'm going to make sure 100% that we're as safe as possible. And that's a spot where, like, a lot of times, if you're not really used to the situation, if you don't have that like competitive experience, you're gonna hesitate. You're like, should I ult right now? Should I G maneuver? But there was zero hesitation, and you love to see it, and it did, of course, pay off. So now we're gonna see them switch sides, and like you said, this is definitely a map that can be held completely on a side. So this is not over by any means, especially with how strong both these teams have proven to be defensively.
Yeah. What I will say, though, on the defense, I mean, Powerpuff Girls were doing a fantastic job. When it came down to G maneuver efficiency, you know, you kind of have to say that there's maybe a 50% difference, right? Powerpuff Girls, when it came to their defense, a lot of the pushes that were coming out from Bork, they were expending maybe 3 G maneuvers, but Powerpuff Girls, they were doing an amazing job of just kind of pairing their G maneuvers instead, right? So it would be something like the energy cable with the Hades, and then the next push would be Streaming Nimbus, followed up by an Ashmar punch. They weren't over expending on their utility overall, so things are looking really good for Powerpuff Girls when it comes to ultimate discipline, and honestly, that's just a great sign for their skill ceiling overall. Nice pick off there with that Gym Sniper. That's Casino going down first.
Oh yeah, you love to see the immediate pick, and that's going to make things so much more difficult. We are, of course, going to see just the run back. The Gym Sniper on defense, it can get some really nice picks, really slow things down, but it's not going to be as big as a Gym Sniper getting a pick on the offensive side. In fact, offense is just going to continue. They're going to be taking that high ground, but it's not going to matter all that much if everybody's just going to keep going down. And there's just so much high, far-range damage on this team that it's going to just tough for offense to find their way in, but they are starting to find their way closer to that waypoint.
Yeah, they're going to go ahead and charge forward now, finding that knock onto Exponent. They'll find one more Khaki falling, and that should just be the rest of the members of Bork going down. They need to regroup to try and establish some sort of defense on this A-site choke, and it looks like they might not even play for it and actually wrap around and go take that high ground and go for B instead.
Yeah, this is a really, really strong point. If you can take it, it is, I would say, considerably easier to defend than A overall. The run back's a little bit further if you do get picked, but you can really, really choke point the defensive team in that spot that they're actually in right now. Right now, they got a win, though. Kaiser's going to go down. Although 2 now going down, 3 going down, 4 going down on the side of Bork, and they only have 1 suit up, and that's probably not gonna be enough to defend all of this. Yeah, probably shooting through that grate right there. You can't shoot through the little bit of like grating, the fence that you can see right on screen immediately, but this is going to be very hard to take back.
Yeah, Mega Charge up there on that B site, on that high ground, leaving really only 2 avenues of approach for the opposing side, for the defense here. We'll see. It doesn't look like they have much in the way of G maneuvers available for themselves. They do have the Ashmar punch. Never mind, it's gone because focus has been taken down. Now this is just a war of attrition as Subject has fallen and Zeros. So the Mega Charge defuse should be coming in here for Team Bork.
Well, right after I say how difficult it's going to be, they just have such a clean clear. But really, I promise that can be a very difficult spot to take back. But that was just excellently played by Bork. I'm actually really surprised that they're sticking with this GM Sniper. I know it does have the G maneuver now. I wonder if we see the used, if it might be switched off of eventually. But we're in some pretty tight indoor areas here. And we are going to see actually, wow, just 2 kills, I think, actually, from that GM Sniper before it goes down.
But it does end up getting recovered, though, so not as much value as you would imagine. Bitey going in, Screaming Nimbus as well with a punch. So that's what I'm talking about. The pairing of these G maneuvers that come out from the defense is so good. Or, excuse me, from the offense. We'll see if they can find a little bit more, though, as they are getting chased back now toward their waypoints. And you have to be careful about bleeding here. At this point, a Subject has gone down. Alternate gets res back into this. Hades has been used, and so they might have to expend a little bit more, but they're not going to be able to get this waypoint away. Now they fall back towards this choke.
All right, this is not a lot of time left. We're down to 2 minutes, and this can be, again, it's going to be a very difficult spot to push in on, right? It's not going to be just immediate. Like, once they start holding this spot, you have to pick off people in a lot of different areas, and it takes a decent amount of time. It looks like there's going to be the push, though. Screaming Nimbus, that's going to hit a decent amount of that team. So many of them going down, actually. This might be the opportunity to plant.
Yeah, they need to finish off these kills, though. Exia goes in. Transam has been shut down. 150 HP. You need to take out the turrets. It already took out one of your team members, but now here's the Gym Sniper battle. This one's going to be difficult. He only has his Vulcan cannons, but it's fine. He still hits the headshot onto Casino to take him out. And this Gym Sniper has proven to be actually extremely valuable even after they've been shut down from that waypoint.
Yeah, Bork loves like listening to what I'm saying and then just proving me wrong immediately. I'm like, they're fighting indoors and really short ranges a lot, and then just 1v1s, maybe the best Dom with just up close with the gym sniper. It's like, oh yeah, easy, just hit headshots, right? Well, no big deal, like just click heads. So really great stuff so far, and only 50 seconds left. There's only gonna be one probably significant push left in the tank here for Powerpuff Girls. This could actually be a defensive hold completely on A.
It's only the energy cable up, and that's all they need. Casino and Focus are taken down. The only trade is going to be onto Kaiser there. Kaki has fallen, though. The Hades has been popped by Subject on the other end, and it's a war of attrition. They need to fight a little bit more. They need to try and get the reses. You can see now Casino coming in with that run back, and they've got the Unicorn here to top everyone off. Zeros is able to get that plant down. No, it is denied. And now with only 19 seconds remaining, they're going to be scrambling to try and get this plant.
This might actually happen, though. It does seem like Bork got pushed back. It does seem like they're going to be pretty safe to at least, yeah, get the plant off. And in fact, the attempts to stop the plant from even happening led to 2 picks. Batty's going to go down in return, but the numbers are just slightly in the favor of Powerpuff Girls here. The huge fight in the middle is going to go again to Powerpuff Girls. We're going to see that actually the Zaku 2 ranged and the X go down. That was interesting. Maybe an attempt to get back to point faster right there, but they are about halfway here. There's going to be maybe one big push left now from the defense before they're going to go to the second point, and that was such a clutch plant.
Yeah, Powerpuff Girls, they don't have any G maneuvers quite yet. Ashmar is close. Screaming Nimbus is 30% off. Casino needs a little bit more, and you can see the full regroup coming out from Bork here for the defensive side. Exponent is in, and there's the Ashmar punch. 2 down, that's Casino and Fatty. The only trade is onto Moist as the Trans Am gets popped. Now Exponent into the back line to finish things off. There's 8 seconds remaining there on the Mega Charge, but it is getting defused, and we are on the verge of going to a map number 3. Bork hold on the first half of Underground Command Center, sending us to a map number 3.
Wow, that was an extremely clutch plant at the final moment and an extremely strong reverse team kill at the final moment. Once again, like these teams, this has to be the most even teams I've ever seen. Not only now are they going to a map number 3, but they have both successfully defended every single side of the map. Like there has been no full wins so far, and yet they've gotten to different distances. This is like how the game is intended to go when you actually have super even teams, right? You're supposed to like actually pay attention to how far you get on the plans. It's not supposed to be just like a full clear every single time. Like this is the epitome of how I think these game types are supposed to go, and this is awesome to see. And now the fact that we've seen like really just amazing defensive holds on both sides, preventing the even first point from being taken now from both teams on different maps. I feel like I'm just so excited to see what's going to happen in this third map. But you did mention we are not going to have the opportunity to see a third destruction map, so we're going to see if that defense can transfer over to a different game type now. We could of course get a game type that has 0 defense on it essentially, or we could get Flak Fort or Harbor City, so I'm excited to see.
Yeah, Thermal Plant is going to be the first ban here, leaving only Flak Fort or Harbor City. And so it all comes down to, I believe it's going to be Powerpuff Girls on this next ban, sending us on over to Flak Fort to be the decider of this match. And Flak Fort, it's always the litmus test of a good team. We're seeing some great defensive holds coming out so far from Bork. The difference is that, of course, those defensive holds were on destruction maps instead of point capture maps.
Yeah, although I gotta say, just as far as like defense in general, I love watching defensive teams that are really strong at defense play on Flak Fort more than almost any other map. I actually really like it on Quarry as well, but I love especially that first point, right? We've had so much fun watching how teams choose to defend and attack that first A point. So I feel like, again, we could get one of the situations where one of the teams could potentially hold off that first point the entire time if we see some really strong defense, but it is really difficult. It is really difficult, but we've seen the defense from these teams. So this is a really cool map to end this on. Again, it's a very kind of neutral map, which is why we see it picked so often, and I loved it as a decider.
Yeah, and Powerpuff Girls have decided to actually start off on the defense here, and I see it seems like that is kind of like the running trend with Powerpuff Girls. They do actually favor going for the defense first, and I can understand why, because you really do set yourself kind of like a definite goal when it comes to being able to like get a hold on any of these points, and then you kind of set it easier goalpost basically for yourself, but that kind of worked out in against them in that last map. So now we're just waiting for our players to get in. But yeah, again, sending us to another map number 3. I love when we get down to the lower brackets. That's when we finally start hitting the map number 3s where so much is on the line.
Yeah. As we get to the lower bracket, as we get a little bit further on the tournament, that's where it gets to be the juicier matches. But just looking at these matches, I've been trying to kind of figure out, like what's going well for each of these teams and what's not going well for each of these teams. And honestly, we've had so much of a POV of Exponent that on that Exia that I feel like so much of it is based on that, because we've seen Exponent go in and get focused immediately, and it delays an entire, like push, and then there's not quite a follow up. And then we've seen Exponent go in and take out like an entire like team or entire half of a team, and the push goes perfectly. So I think that it's not necessarily that it's like a bad time to go in, but I think maybe like if they can find the right moments to go wild, they've had some really, really good full offensive pushes, especially using some of the Screaming Nimbuses even on their team that I've seen. So I think as long as they can find those perfect moments as a team to all move in together as one and take advantage of that like level of aggression that they've shown a little bit more than I'd say Powerpuff Girls, I think that's when Bork is going to do really, really well. But Powerpuff Girls is just so solid. I mean, I think that's their biggest strength, right? It's just their level of like solidness, where it's not necessarily just their DPS that's like ridiculous at aiming. They've got the kind of obviously they've got Casino, which is a support that can be their top damage. They've got players that are on the more of like the flex roles, like Focus, who of course we got to see the POV of a lot in Halloween Havoc, who is just an unbelievably strong player as well. On top of course, their already ridiculous DPS. So it's like every single person on the team is strong, and it's great to see.
Yeah, going back to that point about like how Exponent has been playing, I mean, the general trend for our Exia players has been a bit more of a safer route, right? And it does seem when it comes to Exponent that he does run a larger risk, right? He doesn't save the same pool of dashes that a lot of our Exia players will, right? They kind of open up things up with like the jump in first and then save all 3 dashes to get out. But he has been going a lot more aggressive, and it has been paying off for them. When it came down to the Team Sucky Vampires, when he was taking much higher risks this time around, playing a little bit safer there, leaving himself a few more avenues of exits. It could come down to, especially there on that map, having more exits because of how many different like kind of tunnels and lanes you have to play off of on that first point. But again, Exponent has been doing a standout job. It's very high risk, high reward, and I still love seeing that kind of play style.
Yeah, I was actually just about to use that exact same term, high risk, high reward. It's very different than like you said, a lot of the other Exias. So I'm excited to see if it pays off. It has paid off a little bit more or a little bit less based on the past 2 maps. It does look like one of the players crashed. We're getting them back into the lobby just to make sure that everything is all good. So we appreciate your patience as we're waiting. I know everybody is on the edge of their seats for this final match. I definitely am. Well, not the final match of the day. Of course, there's going to be one right after this. There is, of course, Team Sucky Vacuum sitting in that grand finals, chilling, waiting for their rematch with either of these teams. But there we go. That was a quick way to get back in. Let's go. I am so excited for this. Got to be one of the closest matches that we've ever seen here in any of the Gundam Evolution New Type League tournaments. So we are going to see the comp, and it's looking pretty expected.
Yeah. So again, Flak Fort is just that standard map. It's that great litmus test of how defensive teams are playing. But so far, the indicators either side, they've been basically amazing on their defensive holds. Right now, it does look like Bitey will be picking up that turn A Gundam, so they want a little bit more punching power to get through for that first push. They're going with the Methus, though, which is surprisingly enough, because here on point A, I feel like there's so many grouped fights that can really utilize that basically overall team armor.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've seen some Methus and Unicorn both on this map, and I mean, especially the turret. Honestly, on this point, is very, very. I always say it, but it's like a very cheeky turret spot. So like, there's a lot of spots where it can actually do a ton of damage, very surprisingly, because there's a lot of little tiny angles you have to pay attention to. But we are going to see the push now here from Exponent down towards the right side. Maybe going to go for a little bit of a flank. Oh, or a huge flank. We saw this from Bozos last time. The full fly over the building. Let's see if this works out.
Oh, he gets instantly caught out doing it. You can see that they already pick up 3 kills there. Moist does get rezzed, but they still have to wait because there is no recovering Exponent in the back line there.
Oh, famous last words. Let's see if this works out. Boom, just immediately one shot. That was really smart. That must have been sound cues that they used to hear that, because they were so ready. And you can use sound cues a lot in this game for very particular things. That was a strategy that was used against Powerpuff Girls before in the last tournament, so they definitely know that it's possible. But nice shots. Not quite gonna be able to get the finish there.
Yeah, they do find one on to the Ashmar player, and they have a second player behind them as well, and they need to deal with that threat. They end up losing out on zeros because of it. Methus ends up finding that kill, but they should be able to get the res. He is safe behind. Never mind, the Xe is here. He is ready to get his revenge, but Exponent has not found anything quite yet. Moist has gone down once more on that Methus, and that's going to be another defensive hold coming out from the Powerpuff Girls, but they do need to go ahead and try to fight for the retake, because 2 ticks have been secured by Bork.
Yeah, this is looking pretty decent so far. I mean, honestly, despite the fact that there was a lot of ticks taken, right? Half the ticks taken. This is, I usually say we expect to see A taken at some point. So as long as you're not gonna just immediately give it up, as long as you're delaying this push a little bit, you're doing okay. It's considerably harder to take the next point on this map as the run back is strong, even on offense. But here we go again. We're gonna see Exponent going in, and this is gonna be the Exia duel. Just trying to get the finish off. That is not gonna be a health pack available. That was a great move. Had no idea that the health pack wouldn't be available. If it was available, that might have gone the other direction.
Third tick was actually conceded by the defense from the Powerpuff Girls, having to deal with that threat of Exponent in the back line, but they're back here with the Dom, with the Methus, clearing everything out and sending them packing. Now we're down to 2 minutes and 38 seconds left here on point A, and all they need is just get that 1 quarter remaining.
Yeah, this is a really long hold, though, honestly, all things considered. I keep saying it, you know, the fact that you're only giving up little bits of ticks at a time. I do have to assume that the next decently successful push will take this, and you do get a lot of time on this map extra once you take this A. So we'll see if there's some sort of really strong hold inside of PPG. Otherwise, we are going to see, is this going to be the flank again? It is going to be the flank again. You know, 3rd time's the charm. It did really work really well the last time. Wow, that is a really risky pickup right there, maybe a little bit too risky, and that's going to be probably an attempt to have to regroup here on the side of Bork.
Yeah, I believe quite possibly the Ashmar punch might have been used on, yeah, it was definitely used for G maneuvers going to that defense, but they have the only 2 that matter for this next fight. They've got that turn A Gundam G maneuver along with that Screaming Nimbus. Now it can be difficult here because there is so much elevation that teams can use to try and avoid that one, right? The multiple high grounds, but it's just going to be the Butterfly first off to try and shut things down. But no, it's Kaiser that gets shot out of the sky. They will be able to recover him, though, and the trades are starting to go in the favor of PPG. They still have the Screaming Nimbus. They're holding on to it for as long as possible, and Casino just playing off that discipline, not using it too early here, but it might be a little bit too late. 35 HP, he doesn't even pop that one. It's going to be the Butterfly on the other side to crack things open now. Time added on for Bork Gundam to now make the push onto point B. 3 minutes added onto their timer, and they get a nice stagger onto the Methus player.
Yeah, that might have been just Casino seeing the writing on the wall. Like, even my G maneuver here won't be enough, so we're just going to hold it for this next point to try to, you know, at least delay them longer on here, because delaying them just from getting A is just going to simply stagger us, and it will, of course, just give that up for that resource. But already we're going to see Bork pretty much on top of point B here. They've got to fight for this high ground, but they have pushed forward so fast.
And they've already lost out on 2 throughout all that. Big pickups coming out from Casino along with their turn A player. That's going to push them back. There it is. Again, Casino has been so aggressive, and I love these drive-by dash-ins with his rockets. He's been doing this multiple times throughout this entire series. He's been playing this Dom probably as one of the most aggressive Doms so far in our series. Now the choke. Oh, nice nade onto Kaki, taking him out. Casino dropped down to 138. Give him the energy heals, please, in the back line there. You can't just go ahead and focus that on your DPS, because Casino is one of your DPS.
It's true. Casino just does every role in the team all at once. That's the strength of Dom. I see chat's talking a lot about Dom and the potential little nerf it's getting, but here we go. Gonna use that high mobility to get over, and we're gonna have the Exia duel, one of the most fun duels to watch. But even in the 2v2, this is gonna go very heavily in the favor of Bork here. And yeah, they're gonna take down even another player, although actually gonna be trading Methus for Methus. This is gonna be their first opportunity to try to get at least a tick on here. I don't think they have their full team. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to permanently hold here, but even if they can get that one permanent tick, honestly, it might have been better to just stay on point rather than trying to fight right there. It looks like they're now super staggered, and they're going to have to sit here and wait for the reset.
It was actually like a 4-for-4 exchange overall, but of course the defensive run back being so much shorter, they're able to get back in time. So no tick is secured there from Bork Gundam. Now we got 2 G maneuvers online for the defense on Powerpuff Girls. They've got the Ashmar punch, and that punch from the other side to open up space, and that's just enough. Alternate finding one. Yuki will go down, but he trades for Batty, and now they are onto the point. This should be a few ticks at least secured as the Trans M is popped. 200 HP, 85. He's able to make it back to that small health pack as they trade for even more. Moist has gone down, so now they have lost out the heals on the point as the Trans Am ends. They're able to find one more throughout all this, but still they're bleeding bodies and they haven't secured the tick quite yet, but they are finding the kills.
Yeah, they need just a little bit more. Okay, they get the tick at the very, very minimum. They're going to be threatening to get the second tick now. It does look like the defense team is going to be pushing back really strongly. There might be a little bit of a retreat here on the side of Bork, but no, again, Exponent, of course, just going for those picks, trying to get the finish before it goes down to the turn A, and that is going to be successful and not go down. We're going to go all the way to 3 ticks here, pretty much guaranteed, and now we need to see one huge push back from PBG, otherwise this is going to be game.
No G maneuvers except for that energy cable, and he's still running back from spawn, unfortunately, but they don't need it. It's a dry fight for themselves, and they picked up 3, maybe even 4 in just a moment onto this Exia. They don't actually finish off that Exia, and you know how long an Exia can stall for with its maneuverability. Now we do have Moist back on in. The energy cable popped on the Khaki onto that Pale Rider, and he's starting to dish out the damage, but he ends up going down. Never mind, he actually takes out Casino, and Focus finds one more. The res will not go through, and it looks like the defense just holds in the nick of time. We do have the turn A Gundam going in with that ultimate now, and he might be able to clear out the point just to secure this last little bit of progress, but no, Bitey ends up getting cleaned up, and now it's going to come down to Exponent along with their Dom player here on the high ground.
Yeah, very, very strong defense. Just not quite let them close that out, but all the health packs gone. There is going to be a walking health pack right next to it, but this is going to be a really scary opportunity for... Oh, wait, was that time? I didn't even realize. I was not looking at the time. I thought there was more time than that. Wow, I'm bad at this.
Eureka, despite ending up getting, what, 2 more picks at the end there, you need to get onto the point. Remember, this is an objective game, so it's going to be 95.1% on the second half on point B of Flak Fort. It was a really great defense coming out from Powerpuff Girls, bleeding them down to 1 minute remaining on point A before Bork were finally able to crack that one on open. Exponent, I don't know if he's going to stick with the Zaku 2 range for the defense. This one's a little bit tricky because he has been doing a fantastic job on that Exia.
Yeah, you know, I think I was confused as to the time because it didn't feel like they were playing the time was about to end, right? I felt like there was plenty of time left, even in those last few seconds, for X-Minute to get on point with that extra mobility and try to kind of just dash around and delay as the rest of the team got there. As we started to see, you know, for example, like JP getting on point, but nobody stood on point. So they were playing a little bit like slow there, and I was surprised. So it didn't even give me that sense of urgency. I would love to know what exactly happened there. Maybe they had somebody on point and they thought they were going to be able to survive a little bit longer and they didn't quite, but regardless, still a pretty good push overall. And it looks like we are going to be on this Zaku 2 range. That is pretty interesting. Zaku 2 range can be an absolute menace, some of the highest DPS in the entire game if you can get into your ideal situation. But I mean, giving up Exia for Zaku 2 ranged, that's always a tough pill to swallow.
This is questionable because we got to see what the Exia versus Exia, duel kind of meant in terms of that defensive hold. If you're able to shut down that flanker early on, I mean, Exia, of course, is going to be a great duelist up against himself. Whoever lands that stun first ends up getting that knock. So not running it is kind of strange. It's going to be standard here for Powerpuff Girls. They've got that turn A Gundam. It looks like actually Casino wants to get aggressive here on the lower side. Focus is going to go in for that flank with the Ashimar.
Yeah, this is, of course, going to be a directional pole. I guess there was some mines there. I wasn't expecting those, but I guess you never do expect the mines. Just for a little bit of extra damage, just to say, okay, now you're like a normal HP character going into this. But here we go. We're going to see a little bit of the damage come out from the Zakutu ranged. Another suit that I'm extremely excited to see, using these smoke grenades, which has pop out, get a little bit of healing, get the reload in, the super long reload time, of course. But this is just so much damage. Yeah, if you can chunk people like that, but you're going to be low HP yourself, and Exia can absolutely melt you.
Yeah, the timing when you play with Zakutu ranged, it takes a lot of finesse to actually play that one well, because you really need to utilize your cooldowns for a lot of things, right? You've got the reload animation cancel and all this other stuff. Right now, though, in this fight, it's only 2 ticks that's been secured by the Powerpuff Girls. We got the run back coming in for Exponent. But yeah, you have to be careful, and you have to really play around your cooldowns. Your smoke screen, if it's down, it's really hard to get aggressive onto it because you do need a way to get out. The additional, 2 seconds or so it provides basically gives you full charge on most of your dashes. You utilize, of course, the concussion grenade to get that, to get the recharge animation, or excuse me, reload and cancel as well. You can't just throw these out and go fishing for fishing with dynamite with that one. You really do have to be a bit more cognizant of it.
Yeah, its damage is actually extremely low, especially when you compare it to something like the Pale Rider version of the grenade. It does do a knockback, which is kind of its big advantage. It splits people up or pushes them into walls, but overall, it is a longer cooldown, and we are going to see this kind of little corner hold over here. It looks like a lot of the PPG is already pushing in, but let's see if this flank works out. Immediately targeted, going down to about 1/3 HP. He's going to be able to at least finish off the downed Exia. Can we get more than one? It looks like the rest of the team is going to hold. Most of the team of Bork is in a great position. Yeah, the grab is only going to do so much. It stops CCs on you, but it's not going to stop you from getting melted from an entire team. So great hold from Bork Gundam.
Yeah, 3 G maneuvers, 4 G maneuvers about to come online. They do have the Hades to play off of. They want a little bit more though, just to give them that extra strength. So if they can get their energy cable, just pair those 2 together, and then maybe utilize the Screaming Nimbus with the large heat axe in the next fight after that. 2 minutes remaining now for the Powerpuff Girls on this fight. It looks like they're going to go ahead and try and wrap around to the left-hand side. You can see Unicorn on the other side, possibly trying to build up towards that G maneuver. Now we do have the Powerpuff Girls on the point. It's going to be Focus going down first, but it's going to be Ashmar for Ashmar, and there it is, the turn A Gundam ultimate being utilized with the Screaming Nimbus as the backup, but the Hades is still putting in work so far. Subject hasn't fallen quite yet, but he will go down. Bitey picking that one up. Another great hold coming out from Bork.
Yeah, this one, we really got to see the power of the Zakutu ranged, which is just, like I said, some of the highest DPS in the entire game. I think technically maybe the highest DPS in the entire game if you can land all headshots, which of course is very difficult to do. But we saw just 2 or 3 suits get completely melted. We saw a suit get finished off. And this is a great angle to play with it, right? You're never going to fight too many long angles if you're holding here. But wow, even if you're just holding it behind a corner, you're just getting melted immediately.
Yeah, you have to be worrisome when it comes down to these 800 HP units. The Hades has been popped. There's the Heat Axe, and he finds 2 off the back of that. Again, just pairing these G maneuvers so well now, bleeding down the time to 1 minute remaining here for the offense. The Powerpuff Girls, will they get held on the point A once again? Things are looking quite dire for them.
Yeah, we're looking like this might be a repeat of, honestly, one of our previous matches, right? Every single one has been a little bit of a second point for one team and then another team getting held on A. And we're looking to see that exactly again. This has to be a huge push. I'm not sure exactly what G maneuvers are up for the offense, but we really, really need them to be the ones that matter here. And just immediately jumping around. The Screaming Nimbus coming in, but that is going to be about a half HP Casino. Still going to be able to hit a few people. Of course, you don't always want to target out directly, but we're going to see the 1v1 fight back here. This is going to go the direction of, it looks like, Casino, and that's going to be a lot of actually members of Bork going down. This might be the hold. We're going to see the punch come out from Ashmar, though, to try and even things up, and that's going to be 4 players going down now on the side of PPG.
What a beautiful hold, because that Ashmar punch basically was the only G maneuver they had available to them in that fight, and they were able to use that one to cancel it out, and that is going to be Bork Gundam securing the win here in Flak Fort. That's the 2-1 now. They're headed back for that rematch in the upper bracket in the grand finals.
That was such a good Ashimar punch. That was really the game-winning moment. I mean, they moved in so strong. PPG, they entered with as many G maneuvers as they could. That was a great screaming Nimbus. We saw Casino win the 1v1. They were up about maybe 6-3, 6-4 right there, and then that one single Ashimar punch turned it around completely. I think that must have hit like 4 different people, and then they just followed up so perfectly. Of course, that is a great G maneuver, but you have to follow it up. It doesn't do that much damage by itself, and a single Ashimar is not going to be able to follow it up for more than maybe finishing off one person. So just an amazing coordination right there to follow up that Ashimar punch, turned everything around. But I still gotta say, this has been one of my favorite sets. I cannot believe it. Exactly what I said happened. It was one team gets partway through point B and the other team gets held on point A. This is the most defensive set that we've seen probably ever in this entire series.
And to go back to that last point, behind that Ashmar, Yuika was at, I believe, 70% towards that G maneuver. So he had to put in some work before he got there. So it wasn't just clutching up and finding the right angle for it, but building up the damage to do it, surviving long enough to build it up. And so it was just a great hold. I feel like there might have been a moment for Casino to actually try and take the duel up against that Zaku before they went for that before they went for the Screaming Nimbus. I feel like maybe he thought he did a little bit more damage with that initial shot. And then here's the thing, I didn't get to really talk about it, but the 800 HP units, they leave themselves extremely vulnerable taking the duels up against the Dom. You have the 1200 versus 800, but a direct connect along with that laser basically finishes off any 800 HP target. And so like if he just held on, fought the duel first, and then went in for that Screaming Nimbus, that could have been a difference maker for the Powerpuff Girls.
That is a possibility, of course. Yeah, I totally understand why we saw the Screaming Nimbus right there immediately. It was like a really scary situation. But yeah, even if it maybe Casino had managed to force the smoke grenade first out of the Zaku 2 ranged, that could have changed things completely, right? Made it a little bit more vulnerable for whatever G maneuvers were coming next, or even the Screaming Nimbus itself. But yeah, I mean, Casino walked through, got immediately flanked by a Zaku 2 range, which can just completely melt you. And once you get to that fully melted life, not quite dead yet, the Screaming Nimbus, you can actually be very easily targeted out of it and just killed before it actually is useful. So I get it, but yeah, that was I mean, it was such a good choice, I guess. In the end, we were questioning whether or not the Zaku 2 ranged was going to really be worth getting rid of an Exia, and it did do a lot of damage. It held some really good angles. That's clearly something like a strategy that they had in mind, keeping that little kind of downstairs, back in the corner angle, and then anybody who walks through there just immediately gets flanked. It's a strategy that they've clearly worked on, but that does mean that we are going to see PPG just barely going out at third this time. Still a better placement than their previous match, and we still love to see them. So they're within that top echelon easily, but it means that we're going to get the rematch of the winners finals as our grand finals, where it's going to be Team Sucky Vacuum against Team Bork.
Yeah, and I can't wait, because again, this is going to go to a 5 map set. So we only got the 2 bands initially, and then from there we're going to play out everything afterwards. We saw a lot of set plays and a lot of it looks like very strategic map picks throughout, and so we'll see if during this time that maybe Bork kind of figure out how they want to try and approach this matchup up against Team Sucky Vacuums.
Well, there's going to be a little time before that. Of course, we are going to be getting this match set up, especially just because we did have Bork play through this entire set, and they're going to have to go into another tough one pretty much immediately. So we're going to give them a little bit of a break as we set things up, but you're not going to want to miss this for sure. We're going to be heading in the grand finals, especially all you Carl Sagan fans out there. I still see you in the chat. There's going to be a return of Carl Sagan and, of course, the rest of Team Sucky Vacuum. But when we come back, it'll be time to crown our champion. Grand finals right after this.